When rapid speed down to 2500.
Good point. Wherever you reduce speed to 180.
Black box.
So what's up, everybody? KP's Black Box here, and here today with the infamous Isaiah the Gray Porter.
What's up?
And then we have the Asian Persuasion. Are you Asian? Would you be Asian?
Technically, I guess. Hawaiian, Filipino, Japanese,
Pacific Islander.
Pacific Islander,
Pacific Mutt. You're a
Pacific Mutt, yeah.
Right?
I
In
think
Hawaii, I'm a mixed
I
plate.
think politically correct, he'd be Pacific Islander.
Pacific. Who's political? I'm politically equally offensive to everyone. So
Perfect.
yeah, how's that?
As long as it's
Mister.
equal, right? That's what we're
That's
looking
right.
for these days. Yeah.
Right. Equality.
Yeah, the PC principle.
The Mr. Wesley Gomez,
Aloha.
Vice President, Kenneth Porter and Company, soon to be president of the freaking advisory firm if we can ever get bureaucracy out of the way.
True. I think we're there. We're right there.
So frustrating.
Fourth quarter.
I'll be kind.
Yeah, well, we're close.
Good. Isaiah, you've got an exam to take here soon,
I
right?
do. I'm studying my butt off.
You don't have much of a butt, so
Yeah, most of it's gone already.
we gave Isaiah no acid all pills as a child. Had dire effects on him.
Yeah. No, but yeah, definitely it's kicking my butt studying for it, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
As Jocko would say,
Good.
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 We need to do that in synchronicity.
Yeah.
Good. There you go.
Yeah, got
Awesome.
it.
All right, we got the stupid crap out of the way today. Hey, thanks for joining us again. I'm really excited that we are now in our new podcast studio here in Virginia Beach, and we're moving up in the world. We were in Suite 160.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in Suite 260, and there's one more floor above us. So
Is there a 360 here?
that's three something
It's
Yeah.
got to be.
But if we go to the third floor after that, it'd be owning the building. So
owning the building. Steve Cameron, watch out.
Yep.
Coming for your building. Yeah, shout out to Steve and the folks at Office Space Solutions. They've been great landlords. You guys are awesome. So if you ever need office space in Virginia Beach, look up Steve and the gang. They're an awesome group of owners. So thank you guys, seriously. Few other people to thank today. I did this a little bit when I shot out a little Instagram, and I suck at Instagram. You would hope that having something this nice, I'd be much better at social media.
You'd actually have an assistant doing it for you or something.
Yeah, we're working on Jake to do that, but he's kind of a jack of all trades right now. He's the podcast producer, he's
Master
the
of
IT.
none, too.
Yeah. Hey, look up that quote. That's not really what it says, so look that up real quick, Jake, if you would. The Irish quote of Jack of all trades, master of none. It's been misquoted for ages, and so we're going to set the record straight today on what that really means. And if you can put it up on the board here, this is just improvising right here.
Is it like
impromptu?
Jacob of all trades.
Jacob
Jacob
of all trades, and he is, dude. He's pretty awesome.
Is
Yeah,
it the
back
Swiss
to-
Army knife?
Isaiah, what happened to you, man?
I don't know.
The Army?
Yeah, that's about it.
Nah, I'm just messing with you. You're an awesome son, Isaiah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Try.
Can I make you cry right here on the podcast today?
Probably not.
No.
5 to
Cool.
1 you can.
Wes is always betting. There's the
Yeah.
investment advisor.
I'm Asian,
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Making bets.
You play baccarat?
Not yet. I'm trying to learn.
Jake, so that's what everybody can see up on this screen over here, right?
Yep.
So what's that quote say? I can't read it with my 54-year-old eyes.
Jack of all trades, master of none, though often sometimes better than master of one.
Yeah.
It's that
Leaving
last
the
part.
most important
Yeah.
part out, right?
People seem to forget that part.
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
Yeah. And that was a quote. That was an Irish quote, right? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I believe so.
What's Wikipedia? Wikipedia's never wrong.
Never. I couldn't go in there and edit that if I wanted to.
Old English, circa 1390.
Oh, the English. There they go again, trying to take credit for everything.
Oh,
So anyways, in all seriousness, thanks for supporting the podcast. If you haven't done so yet, and I always forget to ask folks to do this, so do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, tell your friends. We're really going to get serious about this, and we're going to start putting out some really great content, not only interviewing veterans who have become entrepreneurs, which is a big part of Black Box and who we like to interview, but some other things that we're going to do coming up is that we're going to have a literacy course in the future. And so we're going to have it from the young bucks of life and what's important to young people growing up in the world we live in today from a financial point of view. And so we're going to have some pro tips out there, a lot of good what we call free premium content. Won't cost you a dime, and we're going to give you some massive benefits in education around financial literacy. And then we're going to actually have a paid-for course that we'll be working on where it'll be very affordable, but we're going to give some deep dive financial literacy, financial information that you can actually go implement. But as with anything, don't ever implement any financial advice without consulting your own advisor, right, Wes?
Always.
What's the old compliance term there that you investment advisory guys have to?
Past performance is no indicator of future results.
There you go.
Something
Good,
like that.
good guess.
Yep.
Anything to add to that, Isaiah?
I would say past performance is not indicative of future results.
Is that what they say in the exam?
I think so.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. So, and then seek professional advice, right?
Yes.
If you need legal help, seek a legal counselor, not your neighbor.
Yep. Taxes. Talk to your tax advisor.
That's right.
Your CPA if you have one of those.
Yeah. So we'll give you some tax strategy, but you should probably get a second opinion from the person preparing your return, right? So,
Exactly.
but we're going to go through that today. And we're going to share with you today how we, in our financial practice, not on the podcast, actually help our clients make financial decisions. So I thought, man, why don't we launch one of our first podcasts here from the studio showing folks what it is we do.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Jake, I'm going to need you to come out here, leave the control room, because we're going to officially, on our grand opening, do our toast to veterans that I always like to do. I had Mike Vecchi on, and Mike, if I pronounce your last name wrong, again, I apologize, but Mike Vecchi on of Cold Press was with us last week in our first official interview in the studio. So he christened it, did a great job talking about cigars and whiskey,
Nice.
bourbon, and he is the roaster right now for Cold Press, local business here in Virginia Beach.
I got to check that out.
Yeah, they're good, man. The coffee's pretty good.
My wife goes there
I
every
love
day.
coffee.
Yeah.
She loves it.
And we're going to talk about, if you didn't buy a coffee every day, if you didn't buy
Your $10 Starbucks
a
every day.
Starbucks every day, what's the opportunity cost on that?
Yep.
Zen pouches every week. Guilty as charged.
And so if we love you, we're not picking on you. I bought a coffee from Big B this morning, Michigan
Yeah, Michigan.
company. Yeah, shout out Big Blue, right? But anyways, Jake, I know you're standing there with your hands in your pockets, playing pocket pool. That's hey, great job on the studio. This is Jacob Porter, jack of all trades, master of many. All right. When are you going to come on and actually play a ditty for us one day?
I don't think you should say that anymore.
A ditty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a
We
P?
got to change that. Yeah.
No Diddy.
No.
No,
Diddy.
no Diddy
No
from
Diddy.
Jacob.
Yeah,
Like in the old days, it would be no homo. Now it's no ditty.
exactly. He's a lot worse than that, I'd probably assume. But
Yeah, we can talk about that today, maybe.
A sonnet. How about a sonnet?
But Jake is the man behind the scenes, helping us put all this together. And I want to just give you a real serious shout out, man. You did a great job putting it together. You and my son-in-law, Ian Money Miller. Is that what you call
Ian
him?
Money.
Yeah. What's everybody's names in your little group where you had the?
The old Jersey names.
Yeah.
I forget. It's been so long. It was like
You-
Donnie, Donovan.
Who's Donnie?
I think I
You were Donnie.
was Donnie. Zach,
What was Jake?
Zach was Donovan. He was T-Bone.
T-Bone.
Yeah.
Did I have a name?
No, Matt Piston was Donovan.
He
I
was
think.
Donovan.
I can't remember. We had a whole sub story
Yeah,
for
right,
Matt
yeah.
Piston. I can't get into it on the podcast though.
That'll be fun to have you guys maybe one day. Come
Yeah,
in
when
and
Zach
talk about
comes
it.
back,
We'll do that. We'll do that when we interview Zach.
Yeah,
Is that
Zach
content?
Stein.
Is that content available on your OnlyFans?
it sure is.
Okay, you gotta pay for that, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's premium content right there.
Yeah. there
Pictures
you
of
go.
my
You
feet.
Got to pay for that. But in all seriousness, one of the things we like to do in our interviews is always give some honor where honor's due to our veterans. You know, me being a prior jarhead, the most bestest of all forces, U.S. Marine Corps. You know, and then they had, for those who couldn't be Marines, they had the Army.
Yep.
So thank you, Isaiah, for
Well, I really
for serving.
appreciate AP's lying to you. He has a shirt that my grandmother bought to him, and it says Army on it, and then right below it says, because even Marines need heroes. So
That's right. So you're my Army hero,
Mhm.
Isaiah. Thanks for serving. Wes, thanks to your family and those guys. Your grandfather
Yep.
served in World
Grandfather
War.
was in the Army, fought in World War II.
Do you remember what unit he was in the Army?
No, I gotta get. I'm sure my dad has that.
That'd
My
be
dad
cool,
was in
man.
the Air Force, but I'm sure he has that documentation somewhere.
Yeah, the Air Force, man, those guys. My father-in-law was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, but
Oh, nice.
they during
Vietnam.
Vietnam War,
Oh, wow.
he flew with the Thuds,
Mhm.
Thud pilots. I'm gonna try to get Grandpa on here to
That'd be awesome.
have a conversation. But in all seriousness, thanks for those who serve, and thanks for those who serve, like with nonprofits, Jake. Seriously, serving at church, right? If you're going to serve somewhere, serve well,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to give back. So we want to give back a little toast today to those that have gone before us, will go after us, and their families. Cheers to you. And Isaiah's drinking water, Sophia. We chose Johnny. You want another one? Johnny Walker Blue Label. So one day, Johnny Walker will start sending us some free bottles, Wes. I didn't finish mine. You guys are pigs. You went after it.
I had water.
That'll be a day, won't it?
Did you finish your water?
Yeah, I was thirsty.
That would be a day. That'd be awesome. All right. In all seriousness, I said that like 5 times now, and I haven't been serious
yeah,
at
we
all.
could. We could.
No, I was trying to say,
get back to
grandkids are
the-
here. You want to say
to
hi to all
the
the grandkids?
Are
financial-
the grandkids here?
I think so.
Let's do it. Let's just Can we
Knock-
do that,
knock
Jake?
knock it all out.
Yeah.
Bring in the
recording
animals.
is on, but we're going to break the rules
Go
and
ahead.
let them come in.
But as I was saying, back to the financial literacy course, there's one that we talked about yesterday with a client about. I brought this up to you later about setting up a course for young entrepreneurs or someone that wants to own their own
Yeah.
business, being from 26 to 27 and building their business matrix. That was kind of an eye opener yesterday of walking through if they set up their LLC and then have all the other.
The structure of business entities. What's the business model look like?
I think that's good for all ages too.
Yeah.
You know, not just
good point.
young entrepreneurs. I mean, some people become entrepreneur later in life too, and I
Yeah.
think that's good information.
Yeah, having a passion about something that even in your 60s or 70s, we have a few clients like that
Yep.
have retired from their 40-hour-a-week job,
Mm-hmm.
but have gone on to, set up a business and do something that they're very passionate about, and it becomes a sustainable business. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Jake, do we have grandkids? So I'm happy to say, and I think we can announce it now too. So I'm a grandfather 7 times at 54 years young,
Wow.
and have one more on the way. And no, it's not Isaiah and Sophia, even though they're like rabbits.
Oh, geez.
So Isaiah has a 2-year-old, Stevie Rose.
Yep, turns 3 next month.
Isaiah and Sophia has a 2-year-old,
2-year-old,
Yeah.
and then Chapel's 3 months.
Chapel Gray,
Mm-hmm.
who's a beast mode. He's always ready for a fight. He's
He
always
is.
like,
I'm training him to be a
Yeah.
UFC fighter.
is that it?
They already walked outside, so
Okay, well,
they're Dan and Toffee. If they're back in time before we end, we'll
Okay.
bring them on.
okay. Who is that, Moses and Isaac?
Mo's, Isaac, and Lizzie's here too.
Oh, big Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
That's
going to
the
do
real
an interview
boss.
with Liz one day. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be awesome.
All right, so we'll seriously be serious now. So in the studio, Wes, when I was thinking about, putting it together, obviously we're going to have our veteran wall back here. I'll have Jake do some B-roll shots of what our veteran wall is going to look like, just paying homage to the vets. On the back side behind me over here is the pub, right? So kind of mirroring somewhat what an Irish or English pub would look like, and where you sit around and have conversations with people about, from the weather to our wives.
Oh, that place over there called Porter's? Yeah.
Porters.
There
yeah.
you go.
Porter's Pub.
Porter's
Love it.
Pub. Double P.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing group interviews over there, but we couldn't do it over there today because we don't have our couch in yet. So once that comes in, we'll start using and utilizing that when we do group interviews. So, and then we have behind us over here a green screen. So when we start doing literacy courses or doing anything that we need to project something on the screen, kind of like the weatherman,
Nice.
we'll have a green screen to be able to.
This place is legit. I mean, you spared no expense. It looks like a studio.
Yeah.
You know.
And again, I just had a vision for it, but I shared the vision with people who could do something about it. And I think that's a really good thing to remember, is that when you have vision for something, don't let the bigness of your vision scare you away,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't know anything about the technology, obviously. I'm a Marine. I eat crayons.
Yeah. And that's similar to, the people we work with,
Yeah.
right? They have a vision of retirement, but they don't know how to logically or strategically put it in place,
That's good, man.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what we do. We help people with their visions and visions of retirement.
And sometimes you can get caught up in believing that you have maximized everything that you could maximize in your financial life.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I did to give me a reminder is that there's never a ceiling, right?
That's true.
There really should never be a ceiling from a mental point of view.
Yeah, you don't want to limit yourself,
Right.
right? So if you can think and be free
Yeah.
of what your vision is in any capacity, I think it's just going to expand your creativity or expand what you want that vision to look like.
Yep. And so one of the things I always like to say is that beliefs drive behavior.
Yeah.
Behavior drives your relationship with that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then relationships actually drive results. And when we get great results, we go, oh, our belief system must be intact. That must be great. But what we can always channel towards is going straight across from results over to behavior. That's the thing that most often trips people up, is their behavior.
Yeah.
They'll believe a certain way. And one of the things we'll show today, and we'll pull up some calculators, is a lot of people believe that when they go to retire, they've been told that they will retire into a lower tax bracket.
Yeah.
And that's, as you've seen, Wes, and as we've discovered, you've been in the business professionally for 20 years advising clients, mainly on the security side.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we brought you into the firm, we kind of opened your eyes. You went from this limited belief to, there's more to this.
Yep.
And that exposure has now opened your eyes to saying, hey, what if we can maximize wealth, maximize income, and truly protect against the eroding factors of taxes, inflation, premature death, disabilities, lawsuits, planned obsolescence, technological change. Those are those things that for 27 years now, maybe more, I've been saying to folks, I sound like a broken record when I go into meetings, right? And so, Isaiah, you're there as in an assistant or paraplanner role. And you've heard me say that to folks over and over and over again, that we have this objective. Can we maximize everything that you're doing financially? And why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
So true.
If you could have the max of everything in your life, do you really want to have limits on that?
Exactly.
So when I decorated the studio. I was in. Actually, I think we were visiting you, Isaiah, before you left the Army. We were up in Tennessee at Fort Campbell,
Tennessee.
101st.
101st Airborne.
And what are we supposed to say?
Air assault.
Air assault and Screaming Eagles.
Yeah.
So what is it when you go through the gate? What do they say to you?
They say Screaming Eagles, and you respond with air assault.
Air assault.
Yeah, something like that.
Lizzie can say it the best.
Yeah.
We'll have her
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Shout
So-
out to the 250 Deuce.
Is that your company you're with?
That was a battalion.
Your battalion? All right. Way to go, Army boys.
Yeah. They're getting it done right now.
I was going to be mean and start saying some Marine stuff, but I won't digress. So anyways, decorating the studio. What stuck out to me when we were at Miss Lucille's, I found some posters that we can see here on the wall. I don't know. Yep, you can see them behind me here. So these are pictures of different patents at different times in our past. And I saw them at Miss Lucille's, but I didn't buy them.
Yeah.
So, but I found them interesting. Why Kat and the girls are antiquing. You know, I'm looking through these, and it just reminded me of a quote from Charles Duell, D-U-E-L-L. Well, I don't know. I can butcher the Queen's English,
Duell, something like that.
yeah. So, anyways, if you don't recognize that guy's name, I didn't either. I had to go look it up this morning. But he was the commissioner of the Patent Office in 1899. And what's wild about that is that reminded me of my grandma Ada on my mom's side. She was born in 1899. Now God rest her soul, she's been in heaven for probably 30 years now. But I always looked at Grandma Ada and went, man, 1899.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy. She was around before cars.
That's crazy.
But I think about that and I go, my grandkids are going to look at me and go, Pop, you were born in 1969? Man, you're old. And Lizzie reminds me of that every day. You old.
You grew up without an iPhone?
I grew up without an iPhone, without a computer,
Yeah.
right? Now,
A calculator was our computer.
there we go. So right up there, there's the personal computer patent. And I know you guys probably can't see that, and it'll be hard for Jake to scroll in this. The adding machine patent, a bank vault patent, and Wes, here you go, man, the stock market ticker tape machine patent. You know when that was created?
What
And
year was
patented.
that?
That was November 9th, 1869.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was looking at that. That's pretty wild.
30 years before my grandma was born.
Wow.
But here's what's crazy. In 1899, the year my grandmother was born, Charles Duell basically went to the president and said, Mr. President, we need to shut down the patent office. And we need to shut the patent office down because everything that could have been invented has been invented. There's no need for that government office any longer.
That's what he said.
So let's go to the Google.
To the cloud.
Charles H. Duell,
I have it pulled up here too.
do you? Okay, was the commissioner of the U.S. Patent Office in 1899. Mr. Duell's most famous attributed utterance is that everything that can be invented has been invented. And then it goes on, and it talked a little further about patent attorneys talking about this. But when I was looking up these patents up in Fort Campbell, and then I saw them again here in Virginia Beach and a store here locally. What is it? Painted Lady? What is that over in Hilltop? The store over there. It's kind of antique-y, like Miss Lucille's.
I have no idea.
Anyways, Kathleen would be mad. I don't remember the name of that store. We've been there so much. And by the way, Kathleen, yes, I'm wearing what I wore yesterday, and I'm wearing it on the podcast. She was giving me crap this morning for not. She's like, "You're going to go on a podcast with your Patagonia hoodie on?" Well, yeah, because that's
Joe Rogan does it.
It's what I wear. Oh, if Joe does it, then I should.
Yeah,
you
what's
should do it.
wrong
be
with
fine.
that?
I don't know, Wes. Your
Sweater vest West.
your sweater
Yes.
vest Wes
That's
height,
awesome.
man. Is,
I have a different vest for every day of the week.
Do you lay them out like Monday through
I
Money-
used to, but now I like to, be unlimited and just choose it that day.
Is the
Yeah.
vest going to continue in the summer months or no?
Well, the office is cold, which is
Okay.
great.
It is.
The
I love
AC
it cold.
pumps.
If it gets warm, man, I want to take a little cozy nap. But anyways, I digress. Isn't that crazy though? 1899, the limited belief that this very intelligent man, supposedly of the patent office, commissioner of the patent office, probably an appointed position back then, said, "Hey, all these things that came after it." He went, "Oh man, if the ticker tape has been invented, there can't be anything else."
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then over 1940, the adding machine patent, which blows me away. The bank vault patent was, that was, I think that looks like 1888. So he's thinking, oh, the bank vault, security, that's been tightened up. What else could there be? The human anatomy, the skull, I don't know who patents a skull, but what is the date on that?
May 9th, 1995. That wasn't that long ago.
No.
Yeah, they didn't have a patent on a skull until 1995.
That
That's
was
crazy.
4 days after I was
Yeah.
born.
That's when Jacob got his.
Oh, that they used
Yeah.
Jacob's
that's
chrome
my
dome.
skull. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Bighead.
That was the day he was patented.
I won't say that's the day it was patented. I would argue that.
But it's interesting you say limited beliefs. I'm going to kind of segue it here because I've had people in my friend circle tell me, and it ties in with limited beliefs. They have limited beliefs that they don't make enough money to have someone keep their castle. I've heard you say that before. I think that's false. I think everybody has the right to have someone keep their financial castle for them,
Yeah,
no matter
that's
how
good.
much money you make.
A porter.
Yeah, a porter. Yeah,
Yeah.
no matter how much money you make, you could be Jeff Bezos, I think is his name, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Or you can be Isaiah Porter. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Everyone has the right to have their financial castle kept.
That's right. You deserve that, and you should take it seriously.
Yeah.
So that is a great segue. And one of the things that we've done and that I've learned, and I would say something about learning, just like the patent office, is when you think you've learned it all, hang on, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't believe there's more, then you're going to be a lot like Charles DeWitt and fall short of what you could have been.
When you think you've known it all, you're in the past.
Yeah.
You have to stay current in everything.
Yeah.
Especially financial advising, financial planning. There's always different kind of headwinds and different things that us as advisors have to look out for and plan for.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the whole kind of a terminology that I coined, the financial prepping.
I love
Right.
it. I
We
love
all
it.
know what prepping is.
Yeah.
Right. Doomsday preppers are preparing for kind of the worst events out there, whether it be war or weather, et cetera, et cetera. But I think a lot of people are not really looking at their finances, especially retirees and pre-retirees.
Yeah.
Prepping for their retirement.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of black swan events that are in the future that we don't know about.
Yeah.
That need to be accounted for and addressed the best that
Yeah.
we can with the services, products that we have access to.
Yeah. And to Isaiah's point earlier about, Dad, you didn't have a cell phone in 1969.
Exactly.
So that's called planned obsolescence or technological change.
Mhm.
Does your budget take into consideration those things that we can't even think of that's coming in
Yeah.
the future?
It's really interesting too. Like you guys are 20-year vets in the financial services industry. How much has the financial industry changed and progressed through your careers?
Oh, it is.
For as
Change.
much change as there's been a lot of things that have stayed the same. But, talking through those changes and a lot of the things that are still the same today, one thing that I learned, Isaiah, that I've passed on to you guys is that there's basically 27 places that money can go.
Mm-hmm.
Only 27. And that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So shout out to a guy who was a massive mentor in my life in the financial services industry. When I started in the business in the mid-1990s, it was actually right down the street here with a firm called Davenport Dukes. So shout out to Ron Dukes, who was a mentor of mine years ago, even though I left the firm and went on my own. Big shout out to him and a guy named Ed Stein. Massive impact in my life from a financial point of view. So those guys are huge. But there's another guy who I would say, if you ask them today, that was equally important to them, was the creator of the system that I've been a part of my entire career called LEAP.
Mm-hmm.
It was created by Robert Castellone. So
Bob.
shout out to Bob. Bob, and he's aging today, but man, he's still got it. He still comes back to the conferences sometimes and waxes eloquently, and beats down on guys who ask dumb questions. And every question you ask Bob is dumb. I mean, he'll ask him, he'll tell you. And so it was like being in boot camp when you'd go to a LEAP symposium. Bob would just murder you in front of hundreds of people. But, we were all ballsy enough, smart enough to listen, dumb enough to get up in the mic and ask Bob a question. But Bob created this model, and I think you can probably put it up on screen for us today.
Let every agent produce.
Let every agent produce.
When, your physical self, right, muscles.
Yeah.
How do you make a muscle stronger?
Yeah. Exercise it.
Yeah, and
Which obviously I saw myself on the screen the other day in that podcast and with Mike. And I'm like, dang, Kenny, come on. You're looking a little chubby. So I got to get back in the gym. And I look at Isaiah every day, all trim and fit. And I'm like, just guess what, dude? Hold on. 50's coming.
Yeah, Wes asked me this morning, he's like, do you eat anything? I said, I eat all the time. I'm just jealous.
You need some muscle. And how do you get muscle? You have to actually tear it, right?
Yeah.
Why do
Gotta
you
tear
tear
it
your
down.
muscle? Because it rebuilds stronger.
Yeah. That's good.
And that's what Bob has done. I think, when you
Yeah.
ask him those questions, he's going to tear you down, but you're going to be built back stronger because you got that knowledge.
Yeah. So people have asked me, that's a great point.
Yeah.
People have asked me over the years, especially since we've been podcasting back, I think we're working on our third year, and I think, all of my family members, well, I don't even think Kathleen follows me on YouTube or subscribes or whatever that stuff is called. So all two of our viewers that we have. It's growing though. You gotta have vision, right?
Yep.
But for those of you who are watching who have always, well, Kenny always mentioned that you're in the financial business. What do you do? So I thought, why not do the first official podcast with some of my team members? And there's a group of other people I got to give a shout out to: Sarah, Amber, obviously Jake back there,
Shorty.
Shorty over in Brussels.
Muscles in Brussels.
We are a global financial firm,
Yeah.
right? Until Shorty comes back from Germany, and then
Veteran owned.
veteran-owned
You know,
financial firm.
that's strong right there.
And we are equality. We have an Italian, some Irish, some Asian, Army. Yeah, God, man, I think I'm a comedian, and it's just I fail at it every day. But anyways, this financial model that Robert Castellone created is right here on the screen. It's called LEAP. Now, Asian. Isaiah said, let every agent produce, not produce, like cabbage, apples. Yeah. It actually stands for Lifetime Economic Acceleration Process. So I serve on a tri-council committee, kind of a board for LEAP. Shout out to Dave Weisner. I'm going to try to get Dave on the show. He's
Big
Big Dave, great technician. And so I've had the opportunity to have some input into how we work through the mastery of the LEAP system, the LEAP model. This LEAP model represents really three macro components of every person's life. And those macro components, you can see them on the screen. They're in purple, orange, and blue. And those purple boxes really signify royalty. I'm kidding.
Sorry, Wes, real quick. Can you just hit Command plus on your keyboard just to zoom in a little bit more?
Command plus.
Do one more. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
Just
sweet.
want to make sure everyone can see.
Yeah, we can see that. So those purple boxes represent protection, and every one of us, no matter what level of net worth we have, we should be protecting our assets and our future assets.
Mm-hmm.
So those protection components start one-dimensional, meaning car insurance, property insurance, liability. Those are designed to protect your assets. Those second blocks of disability, medical, government plans being like pensions and Social Security, they do two things for you. They protect your assets and your income. And then that third level of protection that protects assets, income, and your life are wills, financial documents, trust and ownership documents, and life insurance. And what we have found to be true, and what Bob Castellon found to be true, is that as you move left to right and down this model,
Mm-hmm.
you get additional benefits and additional protection as you move left and down the model.
Mm-hmm.
That same thing is true down in those orange boxes in savings. They're one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional savings components where they provide safety and yield, and tax benefits. And down in the blue boxes, those are your investments, the growth opportunity from government bonds, corporate bonds, muni bonds. Those provide income. Preferred stocks, blue chip stocks, this is Wes's world in the investment advisory world, growth securities. Those provide income and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see down in those bottom boxes, that's collectibles, real estate, business and tax shelters. So income, growth, and tax benefits. And again, as you move left to right and down those models, more benefits, more money supply
Mm-hmm.
should be coming to you. And then over to the left of that is what we refer to as your cash flow and your debts. So cash flow minus your debts, if you're looking at it in an income statement, hopefully every person has positive cash flow. If they don't, we can actually find that in the model and say, hey, you have a negative cash flow, so that means you're spending money either from credit or you're spending money in your current savings.
Yep.
We got to figure out a way to right that ship. You always should have positive cash flow in the purity of that, unless it's something like depreciation.
Pinpoint the pain, so to speak.
Yep, pinpoint the pain. So this financial model is what I've been using my entire career. Wes, you're working on becoming a master of this model. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is I'd love you to just share your perspective as a guy who focused on securities
Mm-hmm.
and the investment world with their clients. And then when we brought you into the firm, how this kind of opened your eyes. So you mind sharing a
Yeah.
bit on that?
So my 20+ year career, it's really just focused on, kind of G1 through G6, right? Where every firm that I work for, Personal Capital, which got recently bought out 2 years ago by Empower, which is now, I believe, the second largest qualified plan provider in the United States.
Yeah.
I worked for TD Ameritrade, which is now Schwab.
Schwab.
Right. I worked for a
Squab.
cryptocurrency hedge fund for a little bit. I also worked at Guggenheim, which when I worked there, it was Ridex Investments. Guggenheim bought them out. And so that was really just the security side or the equity side of the stock market, where whatever your goals were, whatever your wants and needs were, the equity market, the stock market was the only answer. It was your only salvation, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I was programmed to answer things, to respond to clients, that was their answer, right? It was a matter of, and I don't want to be oversimplified, but how do you slice and dice the stock market, taking into consideration risk tolerance, depending on what the client's needs, wants, and goals are, right? Yeah. And that still has a lot of precedence and needs to be done.
Yeah.
But that was the only answer. And so after learning, and I'm still learning about Leap, I really only played in this space right here, G1 to G5.
And then interesting.
It's so interesting.
That 6 out of 27 places your focus, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you can be a practitioner of the LEAP system
Mm-hmm.
without having a license or expertise in a specific area like you do.
Correct. Yep.
And what's interesting about this is that I think of it kind of like attributing it to a football team. You know, you've got 11 players on a field, but who gets the spotlight on offense?
Quarterback,
And on defense, who usually gets the spotlight?
middle linebacker,
Middle linebacker. And now maybe today some people
Like
would argue
defeated-
like cornerback
or
Yeah.
defensive end, or
or
somebody.
defensive end. So one person's usually getting the spotlight. But just like in this model, there's probably an insurance agent you got to deal with in your life, you know, who focuses on your property, your car, your homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have a life insurance agent who's helping you focus on your life, your disability, your long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you have an attorney who's helping you with your estate planning.
Yep.
And then down in the savings components, maybe you have a banker who's helping you with everything from your savings, checking, HELOCs, home equity lines of credit. And then down in the S7 through the S9 there, maybe you have an investment advisor, or I call them the pension cowboys, some 401k representative
Yep.
who's helping you with your tax-deferred planning.
Yep.
And then down in the investment world, maybe you have a wealth manager.
Yep.
Or a stockbroker. There's not many of those around anymore.
Yeah, that's antiquated. I'm saying that wrong. They're antique.
Yeah.
Antiquated. I don't know.
Oh, good. I mean, you brought out a Hawaiian word on me now.
Antiquable.
Right? I don't know. I can't say it.
Maybe you just invented a new word. You might want to patent it.
There we go.
You sound like George W.
There you go.
What was his word?
Strategery.
Strategery.
I love strategery.
Laser focused.
So then down there's you know, we've had this recently with a new client, Wes, who came in, who's a in their own right a collectibles expert.
Oh yeah.
And so like your father's written multiple books. He's a collector.
Yep.
And he would be officially called a numismatic or numismatist.
Numismatic.
Yeah. A
Numis-
numismatist?
I can't speak today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's the Johnny Walker guy.
Yeah. There you go.
And then you have, you know, real estate professionals, real
Mhm.
estate agents.
Yep.
So you have all of these experts that you got to deal with in your life. The question is, think of that like a team or like a boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time, and I'll ask you guys this, Isaiah, even new, young to the investment world, young to saving,
Mhm.
when you think about Isaiah's got car insurance, he's got renter's insurance, he's got life insurance. He's his own agent now. Congratulations on that, Isaiah.
I sold it to myself.
Sold it to himself. But he did maximum protection.
Mhm.
We're not trying to turn it into a whole life and turn it into some, you know, alternative investment class. He needed the protection.
Yeah.
But if you think about organizing this model with all of these different professionals in your life,
Mhm.
the stockbroker, the wealth advisor, the insurance agents, how many times in your life have you guys had all of those professionals in one room together?
Never.
0.
Never. And every client that I've ever interviewed, every prospect I've ever interviewed, has never said, "Oh yeah, I assemble my team once a year and have all of these experts in the room together, making sure that my model, and this is your model,
Mm-hmm.
making sure your model, your present position is organized and integrated and harmoniously working together." So one thing we do as LEAP professionals, as financial professionals, even though we may not have a license in real estate or a license in securities or a license in insurance products, that doesn't matter. Do you have your boxes filled? Do you have
Mhm.
all of those things organized and integrated?
Yeah.
And one of the things we're able to do with our clients is say, hey, we don't necessarily claim to be an expert in any one of these areas unless we do have that expertise. But there will be areas where I don't have a car insurance or property casualty license, but I can give a person a suggestion to go back to their PNC agent and say, hey, let's look at your limits of liability
Mm-hmm.
and make sure those limits of liability are coordinated with the amount of money that you have in your non-qualified accounts, in your real estate,
Yep.
in any of those areas that you might be subject to a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story that rings true for me, and it was, patting myself on the back here, putting a feather in my own hat, if you so call it. I have a endodontist client in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was an event that happened to him via his daughter a number of years ago. His daughter was driving down in this part of town called the Gulch, and she ran over, hit a drunk guy in the crosswalk. The dude was obviously walking out in the middle of the street, drunk, right? But she hit him in the crosswalk. So even though he stepped out in front of traffic, he was in the crosswalk, and so his ambulance chasing attorney, no defamation to you attorneys out there. I've got a great attorney personally. Shout out Nat Pierce. Big Nat. But a few years before this incident happened with his daughter, when I onboarded this client, I noticed in his property and casualty, in his declaration page, I had him send me his deck page. And in his deck page, he had Tennessee state minimums on his car insurance. Now, in the early years, his net worth wasn't that great, but he had never gone back to look at his deck page to increase his property and casualty insurance to match his net worth.
Oh, wow.
So long story short, I said, hey, Doc, I see here that your property and casualty is at Tennessee state minimums. You're this thriving business owner, and you've got a net worth of $3 million plus. Do you think it's important that we increase your limits of liability? And let's see if we can do that without increasing your cost. And it's like, I never thought about that. I asked the agent to give me the cheapest insurance without thinking about the consequence of what cheap really equals. We all want to pay as little as possible, right? That's everyone.
Yep.
But paying little as possible, meaning your castle is now exposed to those eroding factors, as you were pointing out earlier, being a protector of castles. We're standing at the gate saying, hey, king, queen of your castle, let's make sure that you protect that castle from the eroding factors of litigious people.
Let's not get your castle breached.
I love it.
It sounded like that the PNC agent or whatever they may be called was just being like a cashier.
Yeah.
Just, you want this? Okay,
Here's
here
your
it
product.
is.
You asked for this product. Here you go.
Exactly. Didn't take a step back, understanding kind of the entire picture, and then really having that consultative relationship saying, hey, maybe this other policy with these other limits should make sense.
In your world, that's referred to these days as was the agent being a good fiduciary.
True. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean financial fiduciary or institutional fiduciary, but was he doing what was in the client's best interest, he or she? And I'm not here to disparage or put that person down. They probably gave the client exactly what they asked for. They said, I want cheap. I want the lowest cost. Roger that. Here you go. Here's your deck page with state minimums.
Yep.
I think in Tennessee at the time it was $25,000, $50,000, $25,000, same as Virginia. And so when his daughter hit this drunk person, what we had done just a couple of years before that is I got the client to increase his limits of liability. And over there in P3, that top right purple area, he had no umbrella protection. He had no liability protection. Now, he had protection for his dental practice and for him and his malpractice insurance.
But not personal.
But not personal liability insurance. Okay. So unless he was drilling some teeth inside the car when his daughter,
he wouldn't be covered.
He slipped, right?
Yeah.
But the protection limits that he had there were zero. But he's worth $3 million. So the question I ask folks all the time is that if insurance was free, and you guys answered this for me if you can, if all of your insurance is up there in those purple boxes, if it was free, how much would you have?
The most I can get.
As much as I can get, yeah.
As much as you can get. So really what we're arguing and complaining about is what we have to pay. So in an ideal world, what if we can pay the minimum but get our own personal maximum, right? And an insurance company is not going to give you more than 1 times your value, right? 1 times the value of what they're covering. So think about your house for a minute. if you had a house, well, you do have a house. If you had a house that was insured for 2 or 3 times its value, I would argue there'd be a lot of houses burning down.
That's true.
You know, I'd find some old dude and say, "Hey, bud, I'm going to bet you $100 that house won't burn." You know, if it was 3 times its value, and so insurance companies aren't going to insure something for more than its intrinsic value, 1 times its value.
Yep.
And that same thing is true from your car to your homeowners to all the way down there, P9, your life insurance.
Indemnity? What is it?
Indemnification.
Yep.
Yep.
He's been studying. He's got his nomenclature down. So in the protection components, what we're really saying to our clients is that if we can get you the maximum benefit
Mm-hmm.
and the maximum protection for minimal out-of-pocket costs or no out-of-pocket costs, would you want, not need, would you want the maximum? And anybody who says no, most people, you hear this all, well, what's the catch?
Yeah.
What's it going to cost me? And I just shared with you that we're going to try to reduce the costs or keep the costs the same and increase your protection. We're going to widen the moat. We're going to deepen the moat. We're going to add some alligators. We're going to add some piranhas. And we're going to shore up the financial gate. And we're going to post a sentry at the gate, a porter. Hence Kenneth Porter Company. Hence why I talk about, the crest, right? It means something to me other than it just being my family heritage. It means something in our professional business that matters to me. Jake, if you can, let's throw the crest up. And I'd love to share that. A lot of people ask me, well, Kenny, what's the crest mean?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll take a good shot of it.
But as we're talking through this model, Wes, when we get down into your world and the investment world and the investment advice world,
Yep. I mean,
give me some input there on maximum.
so right here, we're S7, S9, and on down. That's the offense of everybody's model. And this is the area that a lot of people spend a lot of time, effort, and energy on to grow. You want to grow your wealth, your nest egg. But if you look at this in football terms, is an offense a good defense?
Yeah.
Is a defense a good offense?
The old Chicago Bears days.
You got to have both. And most people I've worked with over the years, this is just an afterthought.
Yep. You're
This
exactly
is
right.
something they've looked at 10, 20, 30 years ago. But because retirement is near, they're focused on here.
Yep.
And they've actually took their eye off the ball. You need to look at all 27 boxes to make sure everything is cohesive, everything's communicating. Because when you do decide to retire, you want to make sure that the wealth you've grown is protected.
Right.
Or you leave it at risk for someone or some company or some weird event to take that wealth.
And everybody comes to the table with a different set of needs, wants, desires. Like, Isaiah being a young man starting out in the financial business, coming out of the Army, serving in the Army for a contract, and now going, okay, Dad, hey, I want to serve with you in the financial business. He's in the starting phase of his life, right? And most people start, if we think about this table here being par, right? That everybody starts out at top of the table, right at the edge. But the crazy thing is that what young people do, and I was guilty of this myself, that, I had these sights of grandeur and thought I was going to be this great football player in college and, be an NFL player one day. And quickly did I find out that there were bigger, stronger, faster, and got my butt kicked. I went home weeping to my dad saying, I want to do something different. And without belaboring that, I started out my financial career with a negative net worth.
Pre-accumulation phase.
The pre-accumulation phase. And what's interesting about that pre-accumulation phase is that this is no disparagement to anybody out there just starting out, unless you were born on second base, right? And you've got a silver spoon in your mouth. But most young people out there are having to grind it out and work hard for it, which, by the way, there's nothing on this planet, Isaiah and your friends that are listening, there's nothing on this planet worth having unless you're putting in the work for it.
That's true.
Anything that's ever given to you,
So much sweeter when you work hard for it.
that's right, man. You love it, you appreciate it, you honor it more than when it's just handed to
You
you.
don't take it for granted, you know.
That's why I tell my kids,
Hard to
man,
make a dollar.
look, if you want a legacy from me, if you want to have this business one day, you got to put in the efforts. Like Isaiah's at the starting point now. I'm not going to make him chief financial advisor after all of his licensing is done and put him at the top. No,
That'd be
hey,
silly.
dude. Yeah, you gotta work for it, and your peers and your seniors will honor that. So that goes back to those 10,000 hours, right? In order to be an expert in anything, you got to put in your 10,000 hours.
Put in the work.
40 hours a week for 52 weeks is about 2,020 hours a year, 2,040 hours a year. So there's 1/4 of that down.
Yep.
So at least you got to put in 5 years of your life
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to your craft.
Yep.
So many people today want the Instagram life. They see a person promoting something and promoting whatever it is, and they're, oh, I want to do that. I want to be an influencer. Well, those who have done a really good job in their Instagram world, they've probably already put in 10,000 hours
That's true.
in order to get that one cool moment that they could post. And so that same thing holds true in finances. It doesn't come overnight. There's not a silver bullet. And the financial model that I learned from, that I've become a master in, and a master's never done. Like the sensei, the whether it's jujitsu, karate, you never master the skill, right? You have to keep sharpening, honing, learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning from young people. I'm learning things like about cryptocurrency today,
Mm-hmm.
right? And 27 years ago, there was no such thing.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was no such thing as,
Bitcoin.
yeah, or, you know,
Doge.
Google was not around
Google was not
27
around.
years ago.
right, right.
We
And
had AOL and Netscape.
Bing bong, bing bong. You don't even know what that is, do you?
Do you know what a fax machine is?
I do know what a fax machine
All
is.
right.
Yeah. Do you know what a landline is?
I do know what a landline is.
Do you know what LAN stands for?
Nope.
Local area network.
Boom.
Boom. There you go. I don't know what it does. Fiber optically speaking. But yeah, you guys get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listeners, you get it. You can't have anything worth having without putting in the grind, without putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And this financial model requires input, requires work, requires you to put it out there. And
There's
as
the quest.
yeah, here we go. Jake's making me take a little detour here and talk about the KP&Co crust. So in Irish culture, up there in that top left quadrant, those are the Irish bells, and there's some English porters out there too. So my cousin, who was at the University of North Carolina, history guy, and then became an IT guy. Shout out to cousin Ray. He helped me build this crust 12, 13 years ago now.
Wow.
And what I had a vision for, Wes, was it would be cool. I don't know if you can find it in the drive while we're talking, Jake, but I actually had a vision for what this crust was going to be, and I drew it out on a piece of paper. And I was doing this at a time in my life where I just got hammered in another business. I'd sold my investment advisory firm, given up all my licenses, financial licenses, and was like retired from the financial business. Bought another company in the packaging world, and that went great for 3 years until it didn't. And actually, Japan screwed me over, Wes. Just kidding, man. Fukushima, right? There was a tsunami, and that created a financial tsunami for me. Everything that I'd worked for up to that point got swallowed up in a financial tsunami. And I literally had to start over again. And so I was at a point in my life, we had to go down to Hertford, North Carolina, move in with my in-laws. and literally start over again. It was embarrassing. I was like the financial guru. I had a friend who would tell me, it's like, KP, you were born with a golden horseshoe up your butt. And I started believing that BS. And it's like, oh, yeah, I do whatever I want. And, whatever I touch is going to turn to gold. Well, it was fool's gold because of a belief system. I got ahead of my vision, didn't have restraint on the vision, and got too much of a gamble in one thing. Had most of my eggs in one basket. And that's a risk taker. A lot of business owners do that.
True.
Right? But it bit me. It caught me. And it caught me with my financial pants down. That's the scary thought. So those bells to me meant a lot in that my job as a porter, as a keeper of a castle, I didn't do a really good job of keeping my own castle, of protecting my own. I broke my own financial rules.
Wow.
And
Self-realization.
oh man, talk about humble pie.
Yeah.
Coming back going, man, I didn't do the things that I knew to do because I got a little ahead of myself. I got a little carried away with my own belief system. I had a belief, but my behavior wasn't emulating my belief.
Disconnect.
A big disconnect. But when I started coming back to saying, okay, if I'm going to do this again, what is it that I want to do for my clients? I don't want my clients to have to go through what I went through. I don't want it to happen to them. And so starting a financial firm, so I kind of left my first love. And there were some legal reasons behind that, like I'd signed a non-compete with my then partner.
Yeah.
And that I, would basically stay out of the business for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember it now what my agreement said, but I was trying to honor that agreement, stay out of the business. Fortunately, I still had a book of business for my insurance practice that was still paying renewals, even though I'd left the business. But then that started getting poached. And that wasn't in the best interest of clients that people were doing that.
Yep.
Shame. But it is what it is. And this is where you as a consumer have to take personal responsibility for your decisions as much as the advisor does.
Yep.
Right? Due diligence. But in that top left quadrant, those bells represent porters. And porters in Irish culture, it's a working class family, whether it's Irish or English culture. It's a working class surname, meaning they weren't born on second base. They had to earn their crest. They had to earn their right to have a crest. Not everybody had a crest.
Their stripes. Yeah.
Earn their stripes. And so a porter was one of two things in royalty. And being brought into royalty, being under a crown. You had to be a janitor, right? So you were a surname who was keeping the castle clean for the king. Or you had to be in security, right? You had to be a protector. And so what that really rang true to me, Wes, and Isaiah, just sharing this with you again as a porter, you have to be willing to do the dirty shit for your clients. You have to be willing to clean up after them and help them clean up their financial mess.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
And then you have to be willing to guard it and protect it. And you take an oath to protect your clients from those eroding factors.
Yeah.
And helping them do that. Now, sometimes you can get murdered, right? You can get knocked down, but you're defined by how quickly you get up. That's the definition of real failure. How quickly do you rise from failure? So when that failure happened to me, I have to admit, Isaiah was there to witness. Jacob was there to witness. There were probably 90 plus days where I was a big puss, just whining, crying, why did I let this happen? Woe is me, fussing and arguing with Kathleen over dumb shit. And it was because I wasn't dealing with me. And so when I had that epiphany of, oh, hey, you got to own this. You got to pick up your big boy pants. Like I've said this to many times, Isaiah. We live down in Hereford. My in-laws have a beautiful retirement home in Hereford, North Carolina. Beautiful home, right? On the Perquimans River.
I was there about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, visiting with Grandma, who gave me the czar picture up there. But Wes, there was this dock that my grandma and grandpa, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, I call them grandma, grandpa. They built a dock for me to put my 54-foot yacht that I once
wow.
had. And I would get up every morning after losing my business, and I would walk out on this 200-plus foot dock with my cup of coffee in the first 90 days of this crap happening. I'd walk out on that dock, teared up every morning, whining about what had happened. And having that reminder right there that that boat's not docked there.
Wow.
For a porter, for a keeper of a castle, letting somebody invade my own castle while I'm standing post.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Mm.
So I'd sit out on this dock, and I had this guy basically speaking in my life one day. And he said to me, "Hey, Porter," and I didn't know this guy long. I'd only known him for a few weeks, and this is how God can work in your life sometimes, where he can bring people into your life at a moment that you need it most.
So true.
And what I didn't need to hear from my family, hey, pick up your big boy pants, pull them up, I wasn't hearing that from the people closest to me. But somebody on the outside came in and said, hey, you're walking out on this dock every day, and you're looking over here to the left where your nice little yacht was parked or would be parked, and it's not there anymore, and you're complaining, you're whining about what's in the past. Have you thought about going fishing? And I'm like, going fishing? Who the hell would go fishing right now? Can't you see what I'm dealing with? And then, that was like 2 weeks before this instance happened. I'm sitting out on this dock, looking down at the water, going, if you just fall in and you suck in some water, you'll be better, right? So all that craziness starts coming up in your mind, that head trash starts coming in. And then I remember this comment this guy made to me. And wouldn't you know, as God would have it, boop, this fish jumps out of the water.
Wow.
Big old fish, right? There's some
big fish.
I don't know what kind it was. I'm not a fishing guy. But every morning I'd leave my grandparents or my in-laws' house and walk down to the dock with my cup of coffee, no fishing pole in hand. And they're right there by the right side of the door, right? When you walk out of their garage,
Yep.
What's right there on the right-hand side? Fishing poles.
You didn't have one.
I walk past them every morning because I'm whining and I'm complaining about my present position.
That's true.
And I'd walk to that dock, West, and that happened for about 90 days. And I'd walk down there, sitting there, all the excuses, right?
Yeah.
And then that thought came back to me when I saw that fish jump. I was like, damn it. Had I had a fishing pole in my hand, I might, not guaranteed, I may have caught that thing. But I'm never going to catch it unless I put lines back in the water.
Oh, wow.
So all of that, from there forward, I'd walk down to the dock with a fishing pole. And every time I walk down to that dock now that I don't have a fishing pole in my hand, that comes back to mind.
Wow.
Like, you're walking out on this dock for nothing, right? Yeah, there's the beauty, there's the view. But from a financial point of view, you always have to be willing to have lines in the water, even when things aren't going your way.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where the vision of this crest came, was sitting on that dock. And as I started putting lines in the water and I started fishing, and then catching that first fish was like, oh, opportunity is still out there. I can't see it, right? There's thousands of fish out there, gars,
Catfish, I think, are in there.
catfish. I mean, all kinds of creatures in that water. But if I don't have something that brings them in, no chance. And so it really, just from that day forward, every time I go down there, and I honor that day still, of going, you have to honor the bad shit in your life. You have to honor all the crappy stuff that happened, in order to have vision for what you can be in the future.
Oh yeah.
So when that crest came about, that top left quadrant means the most to me and my family. And then over to the right is bundled wheat. And in Irish culture, bundled wheat has to do with prosperity, right? And a sign of prosperity. Down in the bottom left quadrant are the cross-section keys. And interesting, what's inside those keys right there at the tip? Cross. So we'll come back to that. But those cross-section keys means that you have symbolized to those that you've been in relationship with that you're trustworthy, that you're there again to protect. You have the keys to the castle.
Nice.
It's not your castle, but you control the keys to the castle.
Nice.
And then in the bottom right quadrant is a cross-section cross, which in Irish culture means that you're subservient, that you're never you're not at the top. It's a reminder that you're always subservient to God and then to mankind. Never try to put yourself above someone else. And it's not walking around like humble pie, woe is me. It's just, hey, I honor you for where you are in your life. And my job is that if I'm taking on a role to be a porter for you, that I'm going to honor your wants, your needs, your desires, and put your interest above mine. And that's the crest. And then there's some Roman numerals up there.
Right underneath the helmet?
Underneath the helmet. And those Roman numerals actually symbolize a kind of a family number, 275. And so I have that on my forearm, tattooed on my forearm, a reminder of family. And that 2, represented by Kathleen and I, 5, represented by our 5 children, make up 7 porters.
Oh, nice.
But those 7 porters in our faith, 7 is representative of God, right? But 2 and 7 added together is 9. 7 and 5 added together is 12. Kathleen and I were married on 9/12, September 12th. So those Roman numerals are up there, like over the entire crest. That's the beginning of our family, of our porters. And then the lions, the belt, those honor military service. Semper Fidelis is a shout out to the Marine Corps, which
always
means
faithful.
Always faithful.
Oh, nice.
What is the Army?
Hua.
That's it. Be all you can be.
Yeah, be all you can be.
Noah, our oldest son, served in the Coast Guard, still serves. Semper Paratus, which
Always
is
ready.
always puddle jumping. I thought it meant.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then
Comfy living.
the eagle up there on top of the helmet. What's funny about that is that in Irish culture, there's always a bird, usually for a male, on top of the crest. Well, our bird is like a scarlet, little purple bird. And it looks so puny and not manly on top of the helmet when I designed it. I told the artist, it's like, hey, take the scarlet off and let's put an eagle up there. That represents the United States. It represents freedom, right? And then we had the white head on the eagle. And I know it gets blown up, but that eagle head is red. And the only reason I made it red is because in the graphic design, the white was flushing out and you couldn't see it. So I was like, all right, well, let's make his head red.
All you could see was his yellow beak.
Yeah. So that's the meaning of the crest. I talk about that on the website some too. But to me, that's why I really take serious, guys, what we do at Kenneth Porter Company is that is representative of what we want to try to do for our clients inside the financial model that we use, along with a few thousand advisors out there in the country. I was just on our board call the other day, and that's one of the things that David brought up. There's 1,000+ representatives who use this system in their practice. Some at a mastery level, some who are still learning. But it's a financial system that I've been able to use over my entire career that, to me, we've tried other things like here in our firm. But that's the most unique model that's out there that encompasses really everything in a person's financial life.
I think complete would be good.
Yeah.
Would be a good term. From my past lives at other firms, I hate saying this, we're not looking at a lot of these other boxes because on the investment side, and I was part of that industry,
Yeah.
it's about getting AUM, assets under management, and only focusing on the investments,
Right.
which is an important part. But when you actually take a step back as a consumer, you want help on the investment side, but you really want someone to look at all these areas in the model, because having another, second, third, fourth set of eyes looking at what you're currently doing in your present position, any advice or recommendations is there to get you in a better position
Right.
than where you currently are.
Yeah. Can we move you from where you are to an ideal world of
Mhm.
where you want to be? No matter if you're starting out as a young man,
Yep.
and it's just your term insurance and putting some money in a mutual fund or a savings account.
Yep.
Are we maxing your personal potential?
Yep.
And max doesn't mean everything. Like you're overweighted in
Yeah.
one area.
It's not 0 to 100 in one day. It's a process to get
Yep.
maximized.
Process of wealth planning versus product.
There's still
Correct.
asset allocation. There you go. That's another term.
He is just throwing out his terms today. Like you just got Series 65 just all over your mind right now, right? It's just.
Yeah.
Do you sleep seeing rules and regulations and ethics and?
Yeah, I was falling asleep last night actually, just thinking about questions they ask and stuff like that. My answers to them.
Yeah. Are you going to get a tat on your arm like when you pass your exam with 65 on there?
I'm gonna get
L8. You got your life and health. So
I'm gonna get a tattoo across my face that says IAR right here, Investment Advisor Representative.
Don't do that.
don't do it. Yeah. No. You want? We're going to be talking to HR about your employment ending. So anything else you guys want to bring up today? I went on a little tangent there. Thanks for listening to my little story about moving from failure to trying to achieve success again. And anything, try, right? Wes, try to pick up that cup.
What do you mean pick it up?
Try to pick it up. Try really hard.
What do you mean?
Try.
You did it.
What happened? All right, set it down.
Okay.
So I've done this to my wife and kids, and I've probably ruined them. Anytime they go, well, Dad, I'm trying. I go, really, you're trying? Okay, try again. Try to pick this up.
You either do it or you don't do it.
You getting it? What happened?
I tried.
No, you didn't.
You did it.
I did it.
You did it.
Okay.
We have to learn to take try out of the vocabulary.
True.
And I use it all the time, too. I'm very guilty of saying, man, I tried. No, you didn't. You either did or you did not accomplish it, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a constant reminder for me of, hey, you know what? Most people in life fail most of the time.
I think that's true, but how do they get up? Number one,
Right.
How fast do they get up? What have they learned from that experience? Do they apply it to the future?
Yeah.
Or do they kind of sit there and kind of dwell in the abyss of, denial or, self-loathing? As long as you get up and fight another day, as you say,
Yep.
You got that life, you got that spirit in you that wants to kind of keep moving forward.
I learned a long time ago from, I think it was with Jack Canfield when I was doing a coaching course with Chicken Soup for the Soul. And one of the things that he brought out, and I think it's in his book called Success Principles, we'll put that out there. And it has, again, one of those things that have stuck with me, that he talked about this formula, and the formula being E plus R equals O. And I find this so true no matter how you apply it in life. But the E in the formula stands for events. The R in the formula stands for response. The O is the only thing. I'm sorry, I actually said that backwards. The E is the events, the R is the response. But the thing that all of us, really want to try to manipulate is O, the outcome. The only way that we can have a good or great response, right, is our behavior, is how we respond to the outcome. I can't control or respond to the event. I can't control events that happen in life, like Israel just bombed Iran. That's going to have some effect on the stock market.
Or like Golden Corral just closed in Chesapeake for me.
I did not know that. We actually met with the guy who used to be the VP of operations for all the Golden Corrals here
Oh, really?
years ago.
Israel bombed Iran or Iran bombed Israel?
Israel
They
retaliated.
responded.
Yeah,
This
they
morning.
responded. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a massive response. It was like, hey, we did this from inside your country.
Yeah, but that Golden Corral though.
Yeah,
But
that
that
Golden Corral.
Let's get back to what's really important. But events plus outcome, or events plus response. Man, that Johnny
E plus
Walker's
R.
good.
E plus
E
R.
plus R equals O. Events plus your response gives you your outcome, right? So if you want a great outcome, you have to think about how you're going to start responding. Going back to that Kenny Porter on the fishing dock. Until I started changing how I was responding to the event that happened that I didn't have a whole lot of control over, had responsibility in, have to take 100% responsibility. But how I was responding early on was pretty crappy. Not a great example to my family, not a great example to my children. And until I started changing my behavior, the outcome started changing when I started changing my behavior. So when you think about that in the financial model, a prime example that I can use today is that most people believe that in the future that they're going to be in a lower income tax bracket. And so when we're interviewing, this happens all the time, and I sound like a broken record when I'm interviewing people. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, in your personal opinion, in the future, do you believe income taxes in your world, do you believe they're going to be higher, lower, or the same as what they are today? And what do we hear the response being all the time?
Lower.
So they believe they're going to be lower.
And I think that's from, I hate to use, I don't know the other word, but it's been programmed by the government, by the industry, by the investment industry that go ahead and keep funding that 401k, keep funding those qualified dollars because you're helping yourself today.
But
You're going to
then,
be in a lower tax bracket.
Wes, what's crazy, Isaiah, what's crazy is that when you just reposition that phrase and you go, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, in the future, do you believe for our government and for our country and our U.S. tax system, do you believe income taxes in the future are going to be higher, lower, or the same? What do they say?
Higher.
Higher.
They think everybody else is going to be higher, but them.
It's a huge disconnect.
Right. So their belief is not tracking with their behavior.
Yep.
And what we have to do, we call it sometimes blowing up the island. How do you get a person off their island? Blow it up. It can be painful, but I had to have some personal islands blow up in order for me to reprogram my mind.
Yep.
And so with our prospects, we have to figure out how to tell a woman, proverbially the woman, that her baby is really ugly, and do that without getting slapped.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the toughest jobs as an advisor is telling them that they're wrong.
And instead of telling, we should probably be showing and let them have a discovery, right?
Exactly.
When you can discover it on your own, it feels a lot better than somebody
So
can.
exactly, because there's no, what am I trying to say? There's no fight back, like
The
pushing.
condemnation of, I've been doing it wrong.
So if you can like logically and numerically show them what the issue and kind of guide them like we do with the LEAP model, hopefully there's that self-realization or they have that,
Self-discovery.
that personal aha moment.
Yeah.
Whereas on the equity side, and I hate saying this, but it's like you're not going to hit your goals. You have to do this, or what else do you have?
Right.
You have options. It's just a matter of what wants and needs and desires you have.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and for some people who we've interviewed in the past, they go, hey, I want to retire next year, as an example. And so in this conversation, Wes, that maybe we'd be having with them, we're having a realization that, hey, yep, you can retire next year, but it's not going to end well.
It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be from, that straight linear line they think.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of bumps.
And so to be able to tell a person, hey, that baby you're having called retirement is going to be really ugly, we have to do that with compassion, with empathy,
Yep.
and with the ability to say, have you verified your numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at those numbers to make sure that what you believe to be true could, in fact, turn out to be true?
Yep.
What happens if we change some variables? And by the way, guys, you've already seen this in your life, Isaiah. Change will come. Who moved my cheese mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things evolve. Yeah.
Things will change on you financially, family, business. And so are you prepared for change and change to occur? And helping people navigate through that is one of the things that I find a whole lot of passion and getting a whole lot of energy out of. And so people will say, well, Kenny, you're 54 now. Like, when are you going to retire? And I go, great question. But the answer is, as long as God gives me mind, heart, body, soul, spirit, you guys got to put up with me for a long time in this firm. Because I want to stay at it because I enjoy this. I enjoy helping people have discovery. I enjoy helping people move from where they are to where they want to be. And I'm noticing, like with Young Buck here now, working with some young 19-year-olds that he's working with right now, I could see the little twinkle in his eye going, oh, man, I just actually helped these guys have some financial discovery about their own protection and internal design. And the starting point, the launching pad, how do they get from where they are to where they want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's here at the top of the table. Everybody wants to graduate. Yep, what you got?
Oh, I was just saying, I was agreeing with you.
Okay, awesome. So what we just wanted to do today was just to have this conversation about, folks have asked, well, Kenny, what is it you guys do outside of this cool studio, this podcast? We actually help people navigate through their retirement distribution phase. And so there's a lot of LEAP professionals out there, and they all have a different skill set. Where we focus is with those pre-retirees, retirees, and business owners who are moving into some portion of succession in their life, either picking up a partner, letting a partner go, selling the business to a family member or maybe some outsider. That's the area where we choose to have expertise. 5 to 10 years before retirement, 5 to 10 years in retirement, and then those business owners who are looking for that macroeconomic strategist is kind of the coin, a term that we like to use, where we're just examining and giving thought and strategy on a big picture, and then bringing other experts in who are micro strategists, micro professionals in their specific space, whether it be investments, real estate, law,
collectibles,
tax, collectibles. And so bringing and orchestrating a team or like a symphony of experts, and then we get to be the conductor. And the client is able to experience harmony and a harmonious financial process that isn't so focused on the product. The product, let's say it's the violin or the drums or the trumpet. It's how do all of those work together.
Coordination is needed.
The
It has to be
coordination of it.
coordinated.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's where, from a young guy starting out in the business, we're teaching our young advisors to be, we call them PIDers, the protection and internal design. Focus on the castle protection. Make sure the castle's fortified before you go out there and start conquering the financial world. Make sure home's protected first. And then we can move into those other spaces. So that's a little commercial, I guess you could say, because Kenneth Porter and Company underwrites black box day in and day out. I don't talk about it much. I don't promote it much. And I thought, why not do the first podcast to talk about Black Box's major sponsor?
There we go. There we go.
And just, share with the public a little bit about what we do and how we help people.
Put a face to the name.
Yeah. Move from where they are to where they want to be in their financial life. Any parting thoughts?
You don't have to be a pre-retiree or a retiree to use Elite.
There you go. That's good. You could just be starting, right?
Yeah, you could use it at any phase of your life.
So that's an area of expertise you're going to bring to the table for that young generation, right?
Yep.
That's good.
I guess mine would be the accumulation phase does not equal the distribution phase. You got to have a mindset. Your mindset has to change because
that's good, Wes.
Instead of trying to grow your assets, now you're trying to grow but pay yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's all those other variables, taxes, inflation you need to be aware of. So definitely talk to a professional. Could be us, could be, someone else, but get that second or third opinion.
Yeah, if you don't like us,
yeah,
hit me up. And you want somebody in your area that you want to work with a local professional. I've got a Rolodex of thousands of professionals in different regions that if you want to work with somebody in your own state, and but let me tell you, give us a shot first.
Yep.
Right? If you can deal with a virtual strategist, investment advisor, planner, give us a shot to see how we can help you.
Or if you're in the Hampton Roads area, come on in.
Come on in, check out the studio. You know what? And if you're a veteran who's launched a business or been in business for a long time, we would love to talk to you. And we'd love to talk to you and share your story with our community. And I got some really cool interviews in the near future lined up. One that I'm working on for Black Box is with one of our clients, brothers who are all fighter pilots, and their father fighter pilot and Naval Academy graduates. And they've got some really cool stories about crashing F-18s.
Wow.
And survived to tell it.
That sounds exciting.
Or almost crashing and, running on fumes, and brothers flying next to each other, knowing that one is in trouble. Can you imagine? Like, hanging out with Jake, knowing, hey, at any time, this dude's plane could go down.
That's pretty wild.
And knowing that you're right there with them, but there's not a damn thing you can do about it except just be there for them and be anyway, it's very cool. Yeah. I'm sure I'll be cutting onions in that one, trying to choke back some tears. But and we've done some other interviews this year. I want to throw this out in closing as well. One of my very, very close friends, actually, this is a prayer of Raise the Bones and Bring It, of one of our special forces groups. I'm not going to get into it or disclose the person's name, but this is a prayer of one of these special naval units. And I got to interview one of my closest friends back before Christmas. And this interview is an interview that we don't publish. We're not putting it, it's his. And I want to offer this up today to any veteran out there who would love to share their story with their family, with their children, with their children's children, with their legacy. Create a video legacy. Create this memory that you can carry on into perpetuity for your family. And it hit me in interviewing one of my closest friends. His family never knew really what he did for a living inside Naval Special Warfare. And after he retired, we did a podcast. We did an interview. And the crazy thing is we thought it was going to be 2 hours. How long was it, Jake?
It was like almost 8 hours of recording.
Wow.
8 hours of recording, and then Jacob and Ian went through and did some edits. I wish we could release this and show it to the world, because it's Wes, Isaiah. I mean, it sends chills down my spine now to know, and it's why I do a toast every day. It's, not every day, every podcast, to these veterans who have gone out and put their life on the line for our republic.
Yep.
And I'm honored to be in party with folks like that, especially in the world we live in today, and knowing what these folks have gone through, and then what their families have gone through.
Oh, yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
It takes a tribe. It takes a community.
It does.
USA. Yeah. USA forever.
Mm-hmm.
So again, shout out to all you veterans out there. And I'm like a squirrel chasing a nut here all over the place. But if you're a veteran and you've retired, and you can share your story, we want to give you an opportunity to share that story, not publicly, but privately with your family. And no cost, no obligation. Leave your checkbook at home. We will produce it for you. I know that's a big push that I'm putting out there, and maybe one day I'll have to eat these words and go, what the heck? Why did you commit such a big thing? But it means that much to me, that I want to do my little part to offer up the opportunity that if you would like to share your story with your family, we'll bring you into the studio. We'll give you a place. All I ask is for an outline. And give me an outline before 2 hours before we start. That's my buddy walked in that morning with his outline. And it was, how many pages was it? I think it was 17 pages, Jake.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And I was like, oh my God, we're going to be here a while. Yeah, I'm just busting your balls, big guy. You know who you are. But it was my honor to do that, and I would love that feeling again over and over and over and over again, and be able to let these people give back to their family. Stories. And it doesn't have to be these massive war stories. You don't have to be this badass warrior. You could have been a cook in the Navy. I don't care. That was important, right? Chow hall is important, right, Isaiah? You've had some shitty
I've had
food,
some gnarly food before.
yeah.
Pretty
So
gnarly food.
when you get a good cook, man, you want to make that person your
Yeah.
best friend when you're on deployment.
And Poland, they brought the heat on Thanksgiving. I'll tell you what, it was good.
Yeah, so shout out to the Army. But thank you guys. Thank you that have served. Isaiah, thanks for putting in your time.
Yep.
I'm happy for you. Glad to have you home. Personally, glad to have you here in the firm. So welcome. Don't screw it up, son. Wes, awesome to have you here again.
Yes.
And looking forward for bigger and better things here in the near future.
All right.
Peace out, guys. Or as Wes, aloha. What is
Aloha.
Aloha?
Shaka.
Shaka, bruh.
Shaka, bruh?
Yep.
What does shaka mean?
That's a fun fact I need to learn.
I guess it'd be like
Yeah.
Wagwan. What's up?
Guaguan?
Peace, my brother.
Could be.
Isaiah, yeah. He's like little Rasta man over here. You probably got some other things you can share with us, but we'll do that on a different show. Anyways, all of that. Peace out.
Black box.